We used to have a beautiful bookshelf in our drawing room and it was filled with my girlfriend's books. She buys them for herself as she loves to read and I don't. Most of these books she's had since childhood. We get lots of compliments over it. She had added little potted plants, handmade photo frames with art from her favorite books and series, bookmark stands and stuff to it. Over the years, this book obsession has gone out of hand. She owns so many books. She has an Instagram page for her books. She listens to YouTubers who only talk about books. She has a lot of friends who don't really do anything but read these pretentious, fat books, unlike my girlfriend who is in law school and doing very well. She wastes money on more and more books when in my opinion she should be devoting that money to our house and relationship since it's been 3 years and we're fairly serious now. For context, we do split most of the house expenses, but she currently earns more than me because she has a really fancy internship right now. Given our respective fields, her earning more than me all through life is something I've accepted. I was worried that even after she gets a real job, she'll continue to burn all her money away instead of putting it to good use around the house. What's worse, I don't think she actually likes reading. She had a very abusive childhood and books were her coping mechanism. She doesn't live with her parents anymore though, so I don't see why she's still so attached to them. In my opinion, it's unhealthy. I'm not saying that she should be over it or anything, but her obsession with her coping mechanism is just stupid. You wouldn't mistake her for a reader if you saw her. She's very pretty and feminine with a gorgeous figure and fabulous hair. She wears makeup, dresses fancy, and is a life of the party sort of girl. So I don't think I'm wrong when I say that she doesn't actually like reading at all. So to help her out, I hid a good chunk of her books to sort of test the waters. Some of them were really old and from when she was a child in her parents' house, and her favorite. I felt the experiment would be meaningless if I just hid a couple she wouldn't immediately notice even though she reads every day, so she checks her bookshelf every day. When she asked if I took them, she already looked so worried I told her that I threw them away to show her that she can be fine without them. She flipped out, threatened to leave, the whole works. I got angry and told her the truth and said that she was welcome to her shitty crutches because she had just lost her boyfriend over them. She just laughed and went to go find her books. I left the house. When I went back, she was giving me the silent treatment and at night asked me when I was planning on leaving because apparently we're over. I'm currently living on my best friend's couch who's saying that I messed up big time, but he's always kind of wanted to bang her, so I don't believe him. Am I the asshole for helping my girlfriend get over her trauma?
Am I the asshole for only paying for myself when my fiance and future in-laws invited me to a New Year's Eve dinner at a scale restaurant? I, 32 female, just got engaged to my fiance, 37 male, named Sam. We do not live together because we're waiting till marriage, given he and his family are highly conservative Christians, but they're really nice and lovable people. I had plans to spend New Year's Eve with Sam, but he said he was out for New Year's Eve dinner celebrations with his parents, then called me again, inviting me to join them, and I happily did. His parents were there. They welcomed me and ordered many dishes and desserts and drinks. We celebrated and had a great time. That is, until it was time to pay. I pulled my wallet out of my bag, letting them know that we'll split the check between us. Sam mumbled, "No, you don't have to. We invited you." But I insisted. He and his parents then stared at me. I asked what was wrong, and both mother-in-law and father-in-law said they didn't have money on them. I was shocked. I turned to Sam, and he said he too forgot his wallet at home and didn't bring enough money to cover even one round of drinks. His dad then laughed nervously. "All right, so guess we should let the doctor pay." I was taken aback. I said, "I'm sorry, but no, this is just too much money to spend on one dinner by myself, and I didn't think I was expected to pay the entire bill." Sam said I should pay and he would pay me back later, but I said no, since I know he would have to get a job to pay that much money. I said, "I'm sorry, but this isn't the first time I've been put in this situation by him and family where I'm expected to rescue them after they somehow forgot their wallets and expect brothers to pay hundreds for their extravagant dinner." I told them I'll only pay for what I had and that's it. He and his parents were shocked. They started arguing about how I have the potential to pay right there and then, but I was acting as if they were strangers and not family. But that doesn't mean I'm obligated to pay. How could someone go out to a fancy restaurant, order so many drinks, desserts, and drinks without bringing money? Sam begged that I just do it and call it a night, but I refused. The argument got heated. Then I got up and walked out. Sam called later at 2 a.m., basically
Story time about how I got drunk at a party, confessed to my crush that I was in love with him, and he rejected me in front of everybody. Disclaimer, is not my story time. I was sending me on Instagram. All of this happened 3 years ago when I was in college. I'm painfully shy, and I had the biggest crush on this guy. We took some of the same classes, and I'm pretty sure he didn't even know I existed. My friends would constantly tell me to go talk to him, but I just didn't have the nerve. So sometimes I would just stare at him in class, nothing else. I actually even gave up on the thought of having a boyfriend because I'm just so shy. One of my classmates was having a party, and he was really nice. He invited everyone in the class and told us to show up with drinks. Oh yeah, and I don't tend to drink a lot, so I have no experience. I overheard my crush telling him that he was gonna go to the party, so I decided to go to the party too. The party was the following night, and I knew I wanted to look absolutely gorgeous to this party, so that same day I went to get a new outfit, and I also went to get a mani-pedi. I even went as far as going to Sephora to get my makeup done. I don't really know how to do my makeup, and I actually don't even have much, so I show up to the party looking like $1,000,000, and literally nobody recognized me. I pretty much looked like a different person. And of course, the first thing I did when I got to the party was look for my crush. That's when I realized that I was definitely one of the first people there. Finally, one of my friends shows up and she convinces me to have a few drinks. She told me I needed to loosen up, especially before my crush arrived. I agreed and had a glass of wine. As soon as I finished that glass of wine, my crush walks in. And my plan was working because he started eyeing me right away. He even went up to my friend and asked me who I was. That's what she said, she's the girl that's in our class. He laughed it off and said, oh yeah, I know her name. And he didn't know my name. Like I said before, he had no idea I existed. He walks up to me and starts talking to me about class. Of course, I'm extremely shy, so I had no idea what to say. Out of nowhere, I just started talking back to him. I'm assuming it was the wine that loosened me up. I wasn't feeling super nervous, my palms were not sweaty, and we actually spoke for about 15 minutes. He asked me if I want a drink, and of course I said yes. And before I knew it, I had chugged another glass of wine. Out of nowhere, I just started telling him that I've had a crush on him for months. I even told him that I stare at him in class. So after those 2 glasses of wine, I confessed to him that I was totally in love with him. I told him that I would just stare at him in class, and that I never really had the courage to ever speak to him before. It was like the word vomit scene in Mean Girls. I just couldn't shut up. In my mind, I fully expected him to just be like, oh my god, I like you too. But instead, he quickly gets up and says, you're joking, right? And I say, no, of course not. And he says, well, I have a girlfriend. And then I say, no, you don't. And he said, yeah, I do. How do you know I don't? Because I've stalked you on social media and I know you're sleeping with half the girls in our class. He looks around at everyone standing nearby. Then he looks back at me and tells me, yeah, you're definitely crazy. He looks at my friend and tells her that she needs to take me home because I'm too drunk. That's when I grab his arm and ask him what's wrong. Honestly, I couldn't comprehend what was actually happening. He pulled his arm away really hard. He told me I was really creepy for telling him that I was staring at him in class and that I stalked him on social media. I quickly realized what I had just done. I confessed my feelings to my crush and I also creeped him out at the same time. The next words that came out of his mouth still haunt me to this day. He said, and I quote, I would never ever date a freak like you. It's obvious you've never had a boyfriend and you probably never will. And yeah, everyone at the party heard exactly what he said. I was mortified and couldn't speak. There I am, standing in my stupid dress, my makeup and my hair, which I had spent like $400 on, all to end up looking like a fool. That's when my friend grabs my hand, pulls me out of the party, and takes me to my dorm. I curled up in bed and watched Netflix for the next 2 days. When I finally had to go back to class, there he was, and he literally just ignored me like I didn't even exist again. That's when I decided to turn my life around. I lost 30 pounds, and I started gaining the confidence that I never had. And guess what? As soon as I lost the weight and started dressing differently, my crush started talking to me. He would try to be casual about it, but then eventually I asked him if he didn't remember how he treated me at the party. He apologized and said that I had just made him feel uncomfortable. A few weeks after that conversation, he asked me out, but I said no. Fast forward to now. He DM'd me because we live in the same city and asked me out on a date. I said no again. I usually date 3 guys at a time. I've been proposed to 4 times and said no, but I'm kind of tempted to at least go on a date with him. What do you guys think? I mean, he's still kind of cute.
The asshole for agreeing to have my family visit for a week after my wife gives birth. My wife, 23, and I, 27, are expecting. She's due this month, and things have been a bit intense recently with her being extra hormonal. We live in a different state than my family. My wife and I couldn't visit for Christmas. My parents were calling to continue complaining about us not spending Christmas with them and demanded I make it up for them. I said I was open for any suggestions they had, and they suggested they would come stay with us for a week once the baby is born. That way they could spend time with us and the baby as well. I thought, why not? That seemed to be a pretty good suggestion since it's been months since we've seen each other. So I told them to go ahead and make the invitation official. This morning, my wife was talking about her plans once the baby is here, and that's when I remembered my conversation with my parents. I immediately told her that I agreed to let them over for a week once the baby is born to make up for the holiday we missed with them. She first looked shocked, then freaked out at me, saying I shouldn't have invited them just like that without talking to her first. I asked why not, since she loves them and loves being around them, but she explained that my family can be a lot of work and having them as guests while caretaking for a newborn is the last thing she wanted. I told her it was no big deal, besides that we could use the help if she thought about it this way, but she lashed out on me about how the first few days of the baby's life is essential time for bonding and being intimate, and I just took that away from her by inviting my parents and invading her space. I argued that she was being melodramatic right then because my family are decent people and I'm pretty sure they'll make this experience a lot more warmer, but she still disagreed and said if my family were decent, then they wouldn't have accepted my invitation. But I clarified to her that I did not invite them and this was in fact a suggestion made by them, and I just agreed after they complained to me about missing spending family holiday time with them. She went off on me demanding that I call them and cancel everything I planned with them, but I thought that was unacceptable since she gave not a good enough reason for me to do that, and besides, my parents can help, but she still denied that being true. She's gone radio silent for the rest of the day and is acting like my family are somehow... Am I the asshole for telling my girlfriend to cover up her body when strangers enter the home? I am fully aware the title sounds sexist, but hear me out, please. My girlfriend comes from a wealthy background and grew up with maids, chefs, chauffeurs, etc. I was raised in a completely opposite environment, and I am still adjusting to dating someone like her. When we're not with her parents, we spent a lot of time at one of her apartments. Here's the issue. My girlfriend likes to walk around home barely wearing anything, which is fine. It's awesome. But she does this even when the quote-unquote help are around. For example, last month, her family hired a new driver for her. He stopped by the apartment to introduce himself. She was only wearing underwear. Keep in mind, this is the first time they've met in person. I felt awkward. He was visibly awkward, and she didn't give a shit at all. She was casually chatting to him while scrolling away on her phone. She does this all the time. She doesn't think she needs to wear any decent amount of clothes at all. When people that work for her are around, she will casually walk around just wearing a thong or a tiny crop top. Just a crop top, nothing else. She even does this with complete strangers. One time she opened the door for the delivery guy wearing only a see-through gown. You could see everything. Afterwards, I talked to her about it and she was utterly confused as to why I felt uncomfortable. Then she laughed and told me to, quote unquote, stop being a jealous baby. She even said that I'm unreasonable. We had another discussion about this yesterday, and I told her that she probably wouldn't feel comfortable if I did the same. She said that she doesn't understand why I care what her staff think and that it never even crossed her mind that this is inappropriate. She told me that she only does this in the comfort of her home and not in front of quote unquote actual people, i.e. people that don't work for her. She kind of got mad at me and she vented to her friends. According to all of them, I'm weird for having a problem with this, and I'm an asshole for telling my girlfriend to cover up. Somehow, Am I the asshole for giving my sister $13,000 to pay for her IVF cycle without consulting my husband? My female 33 sister 34 female, has been struggling with infertility for years. She and my brother-in-law resorted to so many options, including trying rounds of IVF. This is costly. So as a result, a number of IVF cycles had cost them a lot and none of them worked. My sister and brother-in-law were advised to take a break, seeing the physical and emotional and financial toll this unsuccessful IVF treatment has had on them, but my sister wanted to try one more time before she enters her mid-30s, where her chances are even lower. My parents refused to give her any more money, so she came over to my place where she had a mental breakdown, begging me to help. I decided to help her out and helped pay by pulling $13,000 from my husband and mine's shared account. My husband was out of town for days, and I didn't go out of my way to tell him after he missed my initial call before going forth and giving my sister the money. I brought it up with him on the phone later, and he blew up at me saying I shouldn't have made such a decision and taken money out of our joint account without consulting him first. But I said I tried calling and he didn't pick up the first time. But he said still I shouldn't have made any moves till I had talked to him first. Then said he didn't agree that I gave a huge sum of money that he worked hard for, given the fact that he contributes 70% to this account, and said I messed up big time. I tried to explain my sister's situation and how this was an emergency and assured him that she'd return the money, but he said, no, she won't, since she doesn't even have a job. Same with her husband, and said I shouldn't support their bad decision to want a baby when they're broke to begin with. I had an argument with him and said he was acting cruel and unsupportive of my family, but he corrected me, saying he's not a doormat and he worked hard for that money that I had no problem giving away without even telling him. But that is my sister, and I felt obligated to help her out, yet he refused to understand that. That was the last time we spoke. He demanded that I take money back ASAP, but I haven't